Hi, this is Dr. Justina Chevalier. Another example of a good positive outlook on medicine versus an outlook that is helpless and ignored in intentional negligence or action to harm and kill other than the human species. Human is the greatest worldwide predator. Is an action that I personally organized to cure and lower what's called a well in fact let's explain that first. What's called actually an index of persons called prevalence of persons that are sick as a result, direct result of killing other species such as pigs, cows, and hens, as well as game animals, and consumption of pregnancy products that results in sexual harassment, the same as taming dogs and castrating them in human population. From the standpoint of epidemiology, this is a fact, and fact that actually needs to be understood to be able to practice medicine. If not, medicine has the presented by artists of Hollywood, as well as in my art core that is right now in unknown location, a state of things in which medications are offered with an assumption of caused intentionally death to animals as causative of, in effect, of such disease, an assumption that death is mandatory. Fortune teller error in cognitive behavioral therapy, that is what it is, and that is not true when medical arts are pursuing cure of persons and pursuing longevity in assumption of regeneration, enabled by interventions in the area. The Dr. Nick's expose in Los Angeles presents that. That is an exact state that we live right now in many states, including Portland, Oregon. However, less so than in areas such as Bishop, California, that are remote and deprived of greenhouses and other means to actually obtain plants and plant-derived food, such as cactuses and other products for food. And when contacted McDonald's, Wendy's, a local barbecue houses, person adamantly ignore or refuse to introduce even one vegan option, promote such options in mass media as healthy and preventative of then resulting chronic hypertension, meaning long-term need of medication, and as a result of obtention of milk. In fact, infertility when sex is only possible as sexual harassment. In degree of that done to animals to obtain product, expressed as extrapolation of that in behavior of humans towards humans, and that is then expressed in an actual medical science as assumption of necessity of death, knowledge that there is harm being done, sale to masses in assumption that persons are stupid and predestined to die the same as a chicken in a chicken coop for chicken breast in KFC, and refusal to respond and change menu. I also was approached by a manager of 7 of existing places that lead business selling only pretty much food derived from ongoing infliction of injuries that send to the ecosystem message that human is a predator and reduce us in movement, resulting in permanent, often deprivation of body parts and immobility, called in many cases obesity or obesity derived disorders, and those are caused actually in immobility by injuries so that humans do not pursue creating demand for such, or active role in infliction of injury per se. And it is a fact, and are preventative by actual change of menu and reduction of killing that to me is known, at least in family of some militaries, who know that death to an animal brings dire consequences to humans, and only during severe winters that occurs, and is a result of having not enough actually stored vegan food that both pursue profession in defense. And that is not something extraordinary, but knowledge of field, that is an actual field in desert, in forest, and in other spaces in which human is simply part of, and in no way of possession, unless one offers others to death and offers for hefty fees or for sake of own reputation remediation in form of surgeries such as implantation of parts of animals into human parts of the body that are still rudimentary and functional, or in fact resulting from slaughtery accidents in which death is caused, to deprive a person of a heart based on organ donor card that makes from my heart is your heart in twin flame a morbid joke that literally is actually per such volition to die and offering to die a reality that we live now. Medicine does not consist of ignorance of other life and then promotion of by impeding of persons to pursue non-killing in inferior to a wild wolf life that McDonald's have done, same as Wendy, another popular chain in the United States, and persons who are, for instance, like police officers, firemen, paramedics, workers that work in transport, UPS, and physicians, and as well as nurses, in that area, for example, are not only not in possession of plant-based obtained from collection food that is presented in abundance in some other places, in PVC, deprived of PVCs, and in no degree aware of causality that is expressed then in medicine as pursuit of advertising and joy and idealization of death, to, especially in context of love, to use it to kill persons and offer such as normal, and to inflict death to animals and serve that to create chronic state of disease, and then extort, in fact, in absence of action from DA and absence of action of Surgeon General, extort from persons right to be healthy, forcing surgical procedures that are limited and injuries, just like in presented in Dr. Nick's expose in Hollywood, where a physician is a simple, rudimentary, ignorant, and a butcher that intentionally, by omission of other professions and their role in having such as presented knowledge, kills species to have humans disabled in movement and in number, so that those animals do not howl and crave freedom to be able to be pain-free, that disables humans alike animals to pursue the same in punishments towards other humans. That is in need now, that you need to understand also that there is in religion no such thing as humane death, or for humans or for animals, and that it is true that sedation and death in pain is merciful at times. However, that intentional infliction of injuries and creating non-stop demand of ignorance of such causality as in pain all living beings wish for death and harm of persons responsible directly or indirectly, which is what is dearest to us, for it. And that is why to be able to not to have a bypass or triple bypass, to not to have also coronarographies, exploratory or otherwise, artificial valves and medication, that then later on in life when one is unable to move already, warrant a recommendation of vegan diet that is inconsequential if animals are deprived in lack of agriculture in our country, of actual products of that sort growing around us, and persons pursue sport or entertainment or music that or medical arts that glorify death and present like it was in an actually educational and good type of art in Hollywood, a cross on which a lamp, an animal in form of a wooden sculpture, a sheep, was on a cross instead of Jesus. And that is a lesson to you. Whatever Jesus killed by offering or would by love to trust and then killed, made for Christ passion and death, unwanted one, expressed in a phrase, why did you leave me, Father? Well, because you did not ask. And so do you, my dear doctor, nurse, food provider, or whoever it is that consumes this, having or not having families, and in whichever business you are. You need to take action, and you need to prevent chronicity, immobility, obesity, and also severe disturbances in mood and also in state of calmness caused by having indirect infliction and result of human action large numbers of creatures suffering, meat of which, because of that ongoing suffering, causes death and coronary artery disease, is ignored by our authorities, politics, and food providers and managers in declarations of own incapacity of limitness and lack of initiation and initiative as well, and is non-religious but medical in nature in understanding of such logic. If you kill animal and that animal suffers and consume that meat, you will get sick and die, and it is inevitable for as long as you pursue such, and there is no limit on death. Do not kill at all as goal of everyday activity, including medicine. You cannot kill if you can prevent that, also emotionally, and if you became desensitized and you pursue death of humans in animals as a result of love and in expectation of such, as in many churches, or promote in chance such states, you will end like Jesus and Mr. Lloyd, and you will parade with that corpse in resentment in pursuit of status of a victim and recognition just because of that, while ignoring suffering of humans and animals in same state, in lack of action, and promoting self in lack of action to be able to not to end up the same as that victim based on past happenings of death. That is not activism. That is simply insensitivity and callousness and glorification of death. If you are also African American, or like I used to be working with African American, you have to understand that action needs to be taken in emailing, also mailing, going in person, in intent, like I did towards halal kitchen, explanation that persons have to have, resulting in no need to cause death or harm, enough plant-derived food cultivated, sold in accessible prices or given, just like it started in California, to be able to not to have coronary artery disease at all, and not to have surgeries. And if you are Surgeon General or a person affiliated with such and you took no action, or a person from marketing, you're responsible directly in omission for death and suffering only in post-surgical pain.